Hello, let's take a trip. A trip to Glover's Reef Marine Reserve, a IUCN Category 4 Habitat Species Management Area. Glover's Reef Atoll is the southernmost of the three atolls off the coast of Belize. Resting 45 kilometers off the coast, Glover's Reef is part of the Belize Barrier Reef, the largest coral reef system in the Western Hemisphere. The Belize Barrier Reef contains hundreds of patch reefs, estuaries, and thriving marine ecosystems that support over 500 species of fish. Glover's Reef Atoll is an oval shape that is 32 kilometers long, 12 kilometers wide, and has an area of 35,000 hectares. In the 1970s, a team of renowned coral reef scientists identified the reef as one of the best sites in the Caribbean region to carry out a long-term, multidisciplinary, and multi-institutional investigation of coral reef ecosystems. In 1993, the Wildlife Conservation Society, alongside the government of Belize, designated the atoll as Glover's Reef Marine Reserve. The Glover's Reef Marine Reserve was established to maintain ecological processes, preserve genetic diversity, achieve sustainable yields through informed management of species and their habitats, maintain natural areas for education and research, and provide social and economic benefits through ecologically sensitive tourism and recreation. In 1996, the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization designated the reserve as one of 7 marine protected areas which form the Belize Barrier Reef Reserve System World Heritage Site.
Glover's Reef Marine Reserve has several direct threats that impact the overall health and well-being of the protected area. Some of these direct threats include overfishing, coral bleaching, coral damage caused by divers and anchors, nutrient and pesticide pollution from agricultural runoff, hurricane damage, dredging damage, and the damage from the introduction of invasive species. The direct threat that we would like to share with you is Glover Reef's most serious threat. This direct threat is overfishing. Overfishing is a very complex problem in Belize due to there being more than one main key aspect that relates to the poor fish populations. Unsustainable fishing occurred in this location for many years before management plans were placed into effect, ultimately seriously harming their overall fish populations
people from
neighboring countries come to Belize and fish illegally due to their own countries already having extremely low fish populations. Not only were management plans necessary to fix this mess, but the overall mindset of the fishermen had to evolve with the problem as well. The fishermen of this region did not practice sustainable fishing and have been fishing in that manner since they inhabited this area. This being said, you can imagine how hard it is to change opinions and methods of fishing when these ways are ingrained into their culture. Over time, these fishermen realized, through poor catch rates, that something must be done in order to bring fish populations back to where they once were. Their views slowly evolved, and now these people are practicing more sustainable methods and making more of an overall sustainable effort to save the reef from its direct threat of overfishing.
The main way Glover's Reef has combated the threat of overfishing is by dividing the reserve into 4 zones: the General Use Zone, Conservation Zone, Closure Zone, and Wilderness Zone. Only 25% of the reserve have restrictions on fishing to preserve the resources and the fish. The General Use is the largest zone out of the 4, making up nearly 70% of the reef, and the one most commonly used. In this zone, fishing is permitted, however there are many restrictions. Certain gear, fishing traps, nets, and long lines are prohibited. The second zone is the Conservation Zone that makes up 20% of the reef. In this zone, the only permitted activity is snorkeling and scuba diving. There is no fishing allowed in this area, and you are not even allowed to drop anchor. This includes all the cays on the atoll as well. A small zone that encompasses the spawning area of the Nassau grouper is the third zone, called the Closure Zone. It is only effective, though, 3 months throughout the year. The Wilderness Zone is the fourth and smallest zone. There is no access here without special permission. This area is to be free of disturbance and allow for special monitoring and research. In 2009, the country of Belize passed a law that protects overfished species from getting fished, such as the parrotfish or the Nassau grouper. This is important to our threat because it helps rebuild the populations of those species lost and helps restore biodiversity in the reef. Another key management principle is investigating the impact of human activity on the reef, including sport fishing, windsurfing, sailing, snorkeling, and scuba diving.
A final key management principle the reserve is trying to implement is to expand their networks to tourism, businesses, fishing communities, and other groups. By implementing all 3 of these principles, Glover's Reef Marine Reserve would be promoting long-term conservation and management of the Belize Barrier Reef System through research, cooperative management, and education to ensure the enjoyment and stability for generations to come.